I'm sure I'm not the first person to suggest this or say this. Um, Eat like a bodybuilder, train like a powerlifter. And I will go back and give credit to Harry Selkow, who is fantastic. If you guys aren't familiar with him, you need to become familiar with him. But he did a presentation called Eat Like a Bodybuilder, Train Like a Linebacker, which is a great presentation as well. I am not trying to copy Harry here, and I'm not trying to be Harry. I can't be Harry. He's amazing. He's one of the most amazing people you could ever meet, and he's very, very intelligent and really knows what he's talking about. My take on this, though, and this is where I'm going to go with this whole concept of eat like a bodybuilder, train like a powerlifter, is because powerlifters tend to train smarter than bodybuilders. And that's not to be disparaging of bodybuilders, because there are plenty of bodybuilders who do train smart. But I will say that in terms of powerlifting, nobody squats 1,000 pounds by accident. Okay? So when I say things like that, what I'm trying to tell you is that powerlifters, by the very nature of their sport, have to really plan things out. And we could just as easily say weightlifters, right? You really have to periodize and plan things in weightlifting. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure you guys will, chime in and be like, yeah, well, so and so does nothing but snatch and clean, and that's true. There are certainly people who just max out all the time. I've said it before. I could write you a world-class program on an index card. Max out snatch, max out clean and jerk, max out back squat. Do it 3 times a day, every day, 7 days a week. You'll produce at least one, world-class Olympic competitor, right? It's just that you'll break hundreds of athletes in the process. So if you take 1,000 athletes and they all do this program and destroy themselves, one of them has the genetic outlier that survives it, goes on and wins a gold medal. That doesn't mean it's the best way to train. It just means that it worked because you got one out of the many, many lifters that were destroyed doing it. Eat like a bodybuilder. So what do I mean by that? And I don't really mean you have to follow, rice and chicken with broccoli for, 5 meals a day, right? But if you look at a lot of these bodybuilders, they actually eat pretty well. Like I'm not going to be someone who's going to sit here and bash bodybuilding. I tell people all the time there's a lot that we can learn from bodybuilding. I am not a bodybuilder, obviously. And how can I put this? I'm aware that there's a lot of problems in bodybuilding. Okay? And there are certainly some situations within bodybuilding where these are things you would not want to do. But we're not going to talk about those. We're going to focus on the things you do want to do. And one of the things I think is great is, like, if you look at like John Meadows' stuff on diet, the Mountain Dog stuff is great, And you look at the diet, it's very simple. It's high in nutrient value as well. Like, you're not just eating egg whites with, white rice. Like, John Meadows has lots of stuff in there where you're eating a well-rounded diet. Stan Efferding, another good example, the vertical diet. You're still getting a lot of micronutrients in it. And if you look at the guys who are really intelligent about this stuff, they're not just going, oh, well, it's just protein, fat, and carbs. No, like, they're paying close attention to their micronutrients. They're making sure that they're getting vegetables in there. They're making sure that they're getting fruits in there. And they're paying attention to things like FODMAPs. They're paying attention to, oh, well, some of these foods don't digest as well as others. Yeah, and that's a smart thing to pay attention to. Because if your gut health is terrible, it doesn't really matter how perfect your macros are in terms of protein, carbs, and fat. If you can't digest it, it's not really, imagine having perfect digestion, theoretical, right? And you're getting 200 grams of protein versus this other guy who has absolutely terrible digestion, and he's, got SIBO and IBS and all this stuff like that, and he eats 200 grams of protein. You're going to have drastically different outcomes. One of them is going to recover much better than the other. I'll make a little aside here, and I'll make fun of people with their PhDs because I'm allowed to. You don't have to put letters after your name, by the way. No one has to put letters after their name. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't trust someone just because they have letters after their name. I could put letters after my name. I purposely don't, because my arguments should stand on their own. It shouldn't matter to you if I even graduated high school. If I say something that's correct, it's still correct, regardless of how many letters I put after my name. And if I say something that's incorrect, it's still incorrect, regardless of how many letters I put after my name. So I have seen people, and I'm not going to name anyone. I don't like doing the naming thing. But I have seen people who are very well educated, okay? And they'll tell you, glutamine is a waste of money because it doesn't build muscle. And then you look at these elite level athletes and they're like, yeah, I take glutamine. And it's like, oh, well, you know it doesn't build muscle. And they're like, yeah, food builds muscle. Like, you want to build muscle, eat food. Well, why do you take glutamine? And they're like, oh, because it's really good for your gut health and it's good for your immune health. And so I have better digestion when I take glutamine. And it's like, oh, that's a good reason. That's a very good reason. Plus, if you guys know me and you follow me on IG, I tell people all the time, glutamine is really important for your hydration. Look it up. Gropper's Advanced Nutrition and Human Metabolism. You either need glutamine or alanine to transport the sodium. So it's actually very important that you get glutamine. That's probably why skim milk is actually more effective at rehydrating people than, say, Gatorade. That glutamine, and the alanine obviously, but glutamine is very, very effective at helping you to rehydrate. So pay attention to what bodybuilders do. Bodybuilders eat well. Like, this isn't by accident. They don't get on stage, super shredded lean with tons of muscle and retaining their muscle while losing fat because they don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to food. Bodybuilders are very good at figuring out their diets and dialing their diets in. If you would like some resources, I would tell you Mountain Dog, obviously. Go to the Mountain Dog website, pay the monthly membership. It is worth it. There are fantastic articles on there. There's just so much good information. John Meadows left behind a legacy, and there's just tons of great information on there. I would definitely pay attention to that. Scott Stevenson. He has 2 books, Fortitude Training, and I think the other one is called Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach. Scott Stevenson is another fantastic resource. I would put him right up there with John Meadows. Scott Stevenson is brilliant, and the advice on diet and nutrition and stuff like that is perfect. It's like exactly what I'm suggesting here, that you pay attention to those things. Obviously, Stan Efferding, the vertical diet. Even if you don't follow the vertical diet, because, I don't know, you don't like those foods or something, that's totally fine. You should still pay attention to the general takeaways. I like the idea of choosing a protein source, like steak or, chicken, whatever. It doesn't actually matter to me which protein source you choose. I realize Stan makes a good point for why you should be choosing beef, but even if you chose chicken or something, and then you just scale up to whatever level of protein you need, and then choosing a carbohydrate. Stan uses, rice, but there's no reason why, like, hey, you do well with sweet potatoes, go ahead and have sweet potatoes. You do well with yams, do yams. You do well with russet potatoes, do russet potatoes. Scale your carbs up till you have enough carbohydrate, and then fill out those gaps with the micronutrients. Pay attention to things, the cranberry juice, the orange juice, things like that. Make sure you're getting your micronutrients. Like, you don't have to get, 400 grams of carbs from cranberry juice and oranges. You just need a small amount of cranberry juice and oranges to get your micronutrients. So you can fill out the rest with white rice or russet potatoes or whatever you like. So those are 3 sources I would suggest for learning about nutrition and focusing on dialing in your nutrition, especially if you have body composition goals. Okay. From there, I would tell you train like a powerlifter. And when I say that, it really doesn't mean it literally. In fact, actually, like, power building is actually a pretty solid way of doing things. There are plenty of bodybuilders who do a powerlifting style program. And that actually will tie back into Scott Stevenson. Scott Stevenson is very similar to DC training, Dante Trudel, dog crap training. And that is basically powerlifting. Like, I look at it and it's like, oh yeah, heavy squats and heavy presses. And, oh, okay, yeah, that's how you would want to train if you were a powerlifter. Well, they're using it in a slightly different rep range, so now it becomes power building, but you're still using those big compound movements, like squats and deadlifts and, RDLs, presses, etc. Yep, big pulls, big squats, big presses, and you're trying to beat your numbers. So you're constantly trying to get stronger. Put 5 more pounds on the bar. Oh, you did it for 5 reps. Next time, try to do it for 6 reps. You did 4 sets. Try to do 5 sets. Try to increase it in some way, shape, or form over time so you're progressively overloading. Whether it means that you're going with a heavier weight that you're lifting, the load, or you're increasing even just by 1 rep per set, or you're increasing your number of sets. You're increasing your total training volume. Your training load is actually going to progressively increase over time. And if you hit a point where you plateau or start going backwards, that's your red flag that you need to back off. You look at a lot of these bodybuilding programs, and I'm not, you know what, I don't have a problem with saying it because he's famous, so it's different. Arnold. If you looked at Arnold's book, like that high volume program in there, turns out he never even did that. You guys can find other YouTube channels that talk about this stuff, like the golden era of bodybuilding and stuff like that. Arnold apparently didn't train like that. He did that like right pre-contest, but that wasn't how he trained to build all that muscle. And so, like, if you guys go and do this high volume stuff of like, oh, high volume curls and high volume triceps and high volume, all these body part split stuff, like, it's just, you're not going to make the same kind of progress as if you were to really focus on progressive overload through better movements. I'm really big on the better movements. You look at squats, for example. Low bar back squats are not a great way to build big legs. They aren't. Sorry. I know I love squats, but I love squats because I believe in athleticism and playing sports. And so whenever people say things like, well, the limiting factor in the back squat is your back strength, I'm like, that's a good reason to back squat, in my opinion. If you think that the limiting factor in the back squat is your back strength, I don't see that as an argument to not squat. In fact, actually, if anything, I see that as a reason why athletes absolutely need to squat. Because if you line up across from me on the line of scrimmage and I have a strong back and you don't, guess which one of us is going to come away from this little exchange standing? Yeah, your back strength is really important. And I say that as someone who played hockey. I mean, I've coached football, but even as a hockey player, if I'm overall strong, you got big giant quads, but you have a weak back. And I've got relatively long legs, so my legs are never going to be huge, but I can still build strong legs, and I have a strong back to go with it. It doesn't matter how big your legs are. If you have a weak back and I slam into you at 25 miles an hour, I probably stand a better chance of knocking you down than you do of knocking me down. All other things being equal. Having a strong back is very important. So the thing is, it's not a great way for you to build big quads. Low bar back squats are not a great way to build quads. So you look at how Tom Platz squatted. Tom Platz, high bar and had this narrow stance. Oh, wow, that's a lot of quad activation. Front squats are a great way to build big quads. Okay, plus you'll build a ton of core strength with front squats. Everyone always asks me, what do you do for abs? And it's like, I front squat. Do heavy front squats. Do a set of shit. Don't even do heavy ones. My max front squat is around 335 to 340. Depending. I can't hit my max every fucking day. So, like on a really good day, I might hit 340. On a off day, I probably hit 315, 320, something like that. But it's up there. I've hit 340 on a regular basis. I mean, probably like once a month for a very long time, I was able to hit 340 without having to periodize anything. So I consider that like a training max. It's like that max that you can hit on a regular basis without having to peak, right? So flip side though, and this is my point, just to make it relative, the only reason why I'm even bringing up my max is because I'm bringing up doing something light. Take 95 pounds, put that on the bar, and then try to front squat that for 20 to 30 reps. Your abs will light up. You will feel your abs. Yes, it will pump your legs up. You'll feel it in your quads and all that stuff like that. But you will feel it in your abs if you do enough reps. So high rep front squats are actually very effective for your abdominal strength and back strength. Point being here, when you look at the training side of things, okay, powerlifters periodize their training because, like I said, no one No one squats 1,000 pounds by accident. Okay, and that's no different than how I was saying about bodybuilders. You don't step on stage, super shredded lean while maintaining most of your muscle mass during the cut, by accident. So bodybuilders have to pay really close attention to their diets. Similarly, powerlifters have to pay really close attention to their training. So I say take the best of both worlds. And that's why I'm huge on encouraging people to look at dog crap training, stuff like that. Look at, Scott Stevenson's fortitude training. I think that those are really good models for people to focus on. I think that you should be trying to progressively overload. And I don't have any problem with isolation work. Isolation work has its place. I do isolation work. Louis Simmons did isolation work. But it's like secondary to the main stuff, right? So, you're going to squat, and that's great, but you can still do leg extensions. You can still do hamstring curls. It's just that you're hitting those big movers first. And I actually prefer the RDL over the deadlift. I feel like for most people, an RDL is just a better movement for really hammering your hamstrings and glutes. I've certainly seen many people who build great hamstrings and great glutes from deadlifts, but depending on your mechanics, you may be longer limbed and you may have short arms, and so sometimes the deadlift is not a great movement for some people. Some guys will tell you, oh, you want to build a big back, just deadlift. And it's like, well, if you're not built to deadlift, it's not going to go very well for you. So you'll have to choose some other movement, which is why I think the RDL is a good choice. Good mornings. Good mornings are another great movement for people who aren't necessarily built to deadlift, but you can still get all that hip hinging work. You can get that from doing good mornings and RDLs. So just because you're not built well to get down to the floor and pull a bar off the floor doesn't mean you still can't get the stimulus of your hamstrings and your glutes through RDLs and good mornings. I can probably do a much longer video than this, and this is already a long video, but I can do a long video of, how would you want to program power building. But the takeaway that I'm suggesting here is that simply you guys pay attention to bodybuilding diets, because a lot of these guys have their diets dialed in. They really do. And then you look at the powerlifting, and a lot of these guys that do powerlifting, they do bodybuilding type exercises. Like they're doing hammer curls. They're doing tricep pull downs or push downs or press downs or whatever the hell they want to call them. They're doing skull crushers. They're doing leg extensions. They're doing hamstring curls. Like they're doing other work. Louis Simmons was big on seated calf raises. And I tell people all the time, seated calf raises are the one thing that you're not doing that you need to be doing. Because why? Your soleus stabilizes your knee. Yes. So, hey, why is it that doing seated calf raises made my squat go up? Because your knee was more stable. Oh, it's not just aesthetics. It's not just vanity. No, having really strong calves is good for you. Having big calves, that's a lot of genetics. Where your calf inserts and everything like that, the muscle bellies. Yep, that's heavily influenced by just how your leg is structured. But having strong calves makes sure that you have a stable knee. So that's basically a template. I mean, I didn't tell you guys what's in those books because I encourage you guys to buy their books or sign up for their website. I encourage you to sign up for Mountain Dog. I encourage you to sign up for Scott Stevenson's Fortitude Training. He has a forum. I encourage you guys to look into those things. Even when it comes to powerlifting, there are so many great people out there, whether you're doing the RTS thing or you're doing the RP. There's a lot of good powerlifting stuff out there. Steffi Cohen with her hybrid performance method, I think is what theirs is called. These are good programs. Choose a powerlifting program, choose a powerlifting program for your training, follow a bodybuilding diet, put the two together, and you will have great results. Like you will get good body composition changes with increases in muscle mass and strength. And like it really is that simple. Like don't overcomplicate these things. Justin Harris is someone that everyone should be paying attention to. Justin Harris has entire videos of him just breaking down how you should train. I think he has a video on YouTube called like Operation Super Heavyweight or something like that. It's another great one. And Justin has tons of nutrition information out there. It's another one where it's just like, yeah, like simplicity really is the secret to all this. I know people think it's got to be super complicated and you have to have these exact macros and these really crazy training splits with super precise rep ranges, and there's nothing magical about you doing 10 reps versus 12 reps. Take the set, push it close to failure. That's it. Whether you're doing sets of 20 or you're doing sets of 10, if you're increasing the load over time, like, you're going to get stronger. I think it was John Anderson who did like 10 sets of 10 his entire career. He's a strongman competitor. Bill Kazmaier, another one. Kaz, I mean, geez. Kaz is like possibly one of the greatest strongman competitors ever, and Kaz talks about doing sets of 10. Do you have to do sets of 3? Probably not. I mean, don't get me wrong. You need to learn your own body. I've told people before, I've said it before in other videos, I do very well with sets of 2 and 3. That's where I make my best progress. But I'm a strength athlete. I'm not actually purposely not gaining weight. I'm trying to keep my weight down and just get stronger at the same weight class. So, sets of 2 and 3 work great for me because I'm not looking for hypertrophy. I'm not looking for size. But if you're looking for size or you want to move up in weight classes, by all means, like, do sets of 10, do sets of 20. But you need to progressively increase the weight on the bar. So if you guys like the video, be sure to like the video. I mean, shit, you already watched 20 minutes worth of it. If you like this kind of content, if this is useful to you, like and subscribe. Give me some comments below. Let me know if you want me to go into depth on something. I'm more than happy to share the things that I've done or the things I've done with athletes. I am always happy to share this kind of stuff. In fact, that's the whole point of this channel, is that I'm trying to share this stuff because I want people to know, like, hey, you don't have to follow some weird ass program that people are pushing. There's a lot of bad information out there these days, and there's a lot of weird stuff about diet. It's just food. And when it comes to training, like, it's just training. Like, you're just lifting weights. We're pretending to do physical labor. That's essentially what you're doing when you pick up a barbell. You're pretending to do physical labor. But that's okay, because it's a great way to stimulate your muscles, right? Just like how whenever we're dieting, it's, in a weird way, you're almost like pretending to starve yourself. Like, you are purposely eating less in order to lose body fat. It's like strategic starvation or something. But you're doing it in small increments so that it isn't a stressor on your body, and you trick your body into releasing stored body fat instead of just like frying yourself by just fasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, that would obviously be the fastest way for you to lose weight. That would not be the healthiest way for you to lose weight. So, there you guys have it. I hope this is useful to people. Again, I suggest you check out those resources. Those are the resources I go to for just basic hypertrophy and just making athletes bigger, stronger athletes. If you guys want to get into stuff like making athletes faster, that's a totally different game, and that is really hard, actually. Making people bigger and stronger, that's very simple. Eat like a bodybuilder, train like a powerlifter. If you want to make people faster, you want to make people jump higher, you want to make people more agile and more, athletic, now we start getting into some, it gets infinitely more difficult, because now you have to troubleshoot where is their weakness, where are the gaps in their game, and that becomes a lot of skill work there too. You can't just squat heavier and suddenly you'll run faster, or deadlift more and you'll run faster. It's like, no. Running is extremely coordinated movement executed at a high speed. So, like, you can't just deadlift your way to a 4.440. It just doesn't work that way. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know, and I'll talk to you guys next time.